Is on 3FM and 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Bank of Ghana Governor sanctions audit into the gold for oil and gold for reserves programs, noting years of significant losses have rendered both problematic. Also on the program, independent power producers acknowledge settlement of substantial portion of legacy arrears owed to power generation companies, describing the move as a major milestone in restoring confidence in the sector. And much later on the program, Ghana Air Traffic Safety Electronics Association threatens to strike over salary and staff welfare related concerns. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Now, the government says that it has cleared outstanding energy sector debt totaling some $1.47 billion in the 2025 fiscal year, effectively rescuing the sector and ridding it of crippling debt. In a statement released on Monday, the 12th of January, the ministry stated that as of December 31, 2025, the government had repaid a total of $1.47 billion to rescue and reset the energy sector. As part of its broader energy sector research, the government had successfully renegotiated all independent power producer agreements to secure better value for money for the Ghanaian people, the source revealed. The Ministry of Finance subsequently provided a breakdown of payments to the IPPs, all in 2025, totaling around $393 million in legacy debt. They include the Car Power Ghana Company Limited, which received the highest payment of $120 million. Senpower followed with some $59.44 million and Suno Nasogli with $54 million. Let me take you through some more as regards what the Ministry of Finance has done. Okay, so I just did tell you that Car Power Ghana Limited received some $120 million. Sen Power Generation received $59.4 million. Suno Nasogli $54 million, LA Power $42 million, Twin City Energy, that's Amandi, $38 million. GhATSEA Energy received $30 million. Senate Energy also received $30 million, and Main Energy Technology received $8.82 million. Now, the IPPs have responded to the payment and they have commended the government for the payment, which successfully, they say, settles a substantial portion of the legacy arrears owed to them within the sector. Dr. Elikplim Apetogo is president of the Independent Power Generators Association.
We can now have some sort of relief that going forward, you can predict, you can plan your revenue based on what you have invested in the sector. So it's a good environment going forward for future. At the core of it is to ensure reliability of supply. You want to be comfortable in going over your businesses. You have the assurance and the confidence that we are going home or you are going to your offices with the lights on. So it gives assurance to the consumers that lights will be available, because the key factor that has to do with the liquidity of the sector is being addressed. And that is going to affect positively the availability and the supply of electricity to the consumers. The sector is being reformed and it's an ongoing process. I can see the practical steps that are being taken. For instance, one critical issue is transparency and fairness in the sector, as well as independence of the sector from political interference. That was the case in the years past, and that's seriously affected the growth of the sector. But you could see clearly at this time that we are gradually coming out of those influences, and that is actually having a positive impact on the sector. So, in fact, we are moving forward, and things, I believe, will get very well sooner than later. Government or the Ministry of Energy reported earlier the outcome of our engagement with them. About $300 million have been given out by the IPPs as a show of good faith towards our relationship with government. And let me say that that is highly informed by the kind of collaboration, the win-win collaboration between us and government. So giving us that generosity of 300 million plus to government for free out of the outstanding legacy debts.
And you heard that the president of the Independent Power Producers Association, Dr. Elikplim Kwetogo. Let's now get a quick analysis on this. And I'm joined on the line now by the Executive Director, Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Nsia. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Mr. Nsia, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, we'll have to rectify that line and get back to you on this. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Godwin Edu-Tamaklu, says the depletion of World Bank partial risk guarantee by the past administration due to mounting energy sector debt was reckless and had negative impact on the credibility of the country. The government on Monday announced that it had cleared $1.4 billion debt owed the energy sector, including the repayment of the partial risk guarantee and settlement of a part of arrears owed to independent power producers. EDG says that it is a crucial move that will sustain uninterrupted electricity supply and assure power generators of constant payment for their services.
A guarantee, more or less, is like a comfort to your investors that when you do this and I'm not able to pay, you can fall back on this guarantee. And so what we got to the point where it became so bad that we could not settle our bills that we had to go and fall on the guarantee. That is the level at which, the level of recklessness. And some of these things, what it does is that it impacts directly on the credibility of the country. And so the very credibility of a whole sovereign state was what was at stake. The independent power generators or producers, they were the people facing the brunt of these decisions. And they have been very patient with government of Ghana over the period. In terms of the direct legacy debt, over $300 million have been paid to the independent power producer. And just to demonstrate that these are not just mere statements, but they are firm and actual payment.
The ability to settle this amount of arrears, what does it mean to the ordinary consumer and even the stability of the energy sector in itself?
For the past 1 year, you will note that there had not been any load shedding. No load shedding. It's because of this. And so the business people who have invested in power generation are also seeking, there's a certain assurance to them that when we produce, we'll get paid. And that is what has resulted in the stability we are enjoying. Look, and I can assure you that the leadership we have today, Honorable Atufosin, Honorable Abdullahi Jinapo, and the energy sector players are working day and night to keep our lights on. And that, for me, is significant. And we need to applaud them.
And you heard the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Godwin Edu-Tamaklu. Now, this afternoon, the Bank of Ghana governor has revealed that the Gold for Oil program has been shut down due to billions of losses made over the years, which necessitated the decision to shut it down. He says there is an ongoing audit into both the Gold for Oil and the Gold for Reserves programs to determine the way forward concerning both initiatives. And he was speaking when he appeared before Parliament's Accounts Committee. But let's cross over now to Parliament, where my colleague Christian Yale is currently bringing us an update as regards what is happening and whether or not the governor of the Bank of Ghana is still before the Public Accounts Committee, before we hear what the governor said. And we'll have to go to Christian Yale later, but let's hear what the governor said earlier.
Relates to specifically to gold for oil and which losses have been incurred based on your earlier session.
Madam Chair, I have some data here I can provide on the net losses for the gold for oil and also net losses for the gold for reserves. In 2022, the net losses for the gold for oil was about 74.44 million Ghana cedis. We did not have a net loss for the gold for reserves in 2022. Then in 2023, the net loss for the gold for oil was 317.69 million. In 2023. On the other hand, the net loss for the gold for reserves, the losses in 2023 was 1,054.84 Ghana cedis. A little over 1 billion was the net loss for the gold for reserves in 2023. Then in 2024, the net loss for the gold for oil was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. On the other hand, the net loss for the gold for reserves in 2024 was 3.8 billion Ghana cedis. Now, for 2025, and as we have indicated, this data is under audit, and we will want to wait until the audit is over. We will publish our financials by March this year. When we publish it, the data for 2025 will be provided in those financials. So as I've mentioned, it's not a question about losses then and now.
Let's go to Christian Yale now, Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent. Chris, if you can hear me, just bring us a bit more context, as it were, regarding the Governor of the Bank of Ghana's answers.
Indeed, when you listen to the Bank of Governor, he makes that admission right now today that indeed there have been some losses under the Good for Reserves program. You would recall that a few weeks ago, the minority in Parliament had been raising concerns following an IMF report that suggested billions of losses made under the Good for Reserves program. And so that admission has been made. But the way forward for him is what he indicates, that the Bank of Ghana is assisting the industry to ensure that there is a reform in the model of the Good for Reserves program, which he indicates that when you look at the model, it comes with an inherent cost. So Bank of Ghana cannot continue to shoulder the cost from the Good for Oil reserves. And so he's even called on Parliament, as a matter of fact, to also join hands with the Bank of Ghana together with the Finance Ministry to look how there could be a burden share from the cost being incurred from the Good for Reserves program. The other bit is the Good for Oil program, which started before he took office, and he mentioned the cost as you played earlier, indicated that currently that entire program has been shut down, and he is also undergoing an external audit, and so that the suggestions or recommendations that would come out of that audit would be made available to Parliament and to the general public for everyone to get a proper scrutiny of what went wrong. But the case he makes really is that this is not a time for apportioning blame and pointing fingers at who may be at fault for these causes and for these costs and losses. He makes the case that it is a collective fight that must be fought by everyone, and all stakeholders must join hands and must join forces in ensuring that models of these two programs, if they should continue, are reformed and re-looked at.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm sorry, we'll have to end it here because the line is not so stable. But I do know that the governor also asked for a relook at the modules for both programs for relevant reforms.
It is that these schemes were introduced to address a specific national problem. What to do going forward is how to reform it, how to make it more efficient. A number of things have been done by us. If we have time, I could run you through them by way of reforming it. I have all the details here. I can provide to your committee to read for yourselves. But going forward, our appeal is to move in a unified manner. We want everyone to get on board, to reform this better, and to sharpen its efficiency so that it supports economic stabilization, it supports our reserves build-up going forward. At the Bank of Ghana, we have started. This week, our board is having a joint meeting with the board of the Gold Board for a start. Beyond that, we are going to be meeting with other stakeholders, and we will be happy for experts in Parliament to join us. We believe that it can be made a win-win. A friend of mine made a comment that I want to share with the committee on this. He said, if this issue doesn't unite us as a country, then he doesn't know what other issue will unite us. The losses are not new. They were there before 2025. And so rather than apportion blame, let's get to the table. Let's see what to do further. We did a bit last year to reduce some of the charges. What more can we do and sustain it? Other than that, going back to leave the space for the smugglers, going back to leave the space for others. And if you look at how much we've lost as a country by way of leakages over all the years, it is mind-blowing. So our appeal is that we work together, Madam Chair, going forward to reform the space. It will help us as a country. Thank you.
And you heard that, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandit Asiama. Let's return to our earlier story about that payment of $1.6 billion to clear the energy sector debt. And I'm joined by Benjamin Insia, who is Executive Director at the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Hopefully he can hear me now. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Beatrice, and thanks for having me.
Are you able to give us your initial reaction to this payment by the government?
Yes, it is commendable and reduces the high risk nature of the sector to a moderate risk and puts the sector into a new era of sustainability.
To what extent do you believe this would really help sustain this sector? Mind you, the government has not cleared everything yet.
So I think that with respect to legacy, it is likely going to be net zero, which means that legacy debts have been cleared and revenues that will be mobilized from EFLA proceeds will now be used to modernize aging infrastructure and also expand infrastructure to accelerate and scale up electricity accessibility to every part of the country. We could also use these proceeds to build new generation points based on zonal capacities across the country and improve our utility companies in the generation of power to also begin to build new generation capacity to serve the medium and long-term needs of Ghana. So I think that we are on the right path with respect to our ability to defray maximum liabilities due IPPs and other power sector players.
Now, moving forward, how would you expect the government to engage with sector players to ensure that we don't get to our old bad ways?
So from the evidence, some of these debts were accrued due to bad contracts signed by policymakers in terms of gas off-taker contracts or power purchase agreements. So I think that we'll be able to renegotiate some of these contracts, and it means that there's somewhat value for money in terms of the cost of generation we need to sustain it and even push further in the reduction of these generation costs by these IPPs because of the appreciation and the performance of the CD against the dollar. If you're able to sustain, I think that it will help reduce some of these liabilities sustainably. The second part also has to do with the system losses. I think that we are not doing well as a country in terms of managing system losses. They are still high, around 27%, one of the highest among lower middle income countries. We need to try as much as possible to reduce this system loss because they are revenues anyway. If you're able to reduce it, I think that you will be able to mobilize enough revenue to defray current debts or current arrears due these IPPs or other sector players in the value chain. If you're able to offset current liabilities in the power value chain, I don't think that there will be enough legacy debt to pay in future. And lastly, I think we also need to look at the arrears in the sector, especially government's own arrears due the sector. Government must be willing and committed to defray its debt. If government is able to do this, I don't think that there will be any current or legacy debt to pay in future because these debts are cleared. What we need to do is to diversify ESLA proceeds to modernizing and expanding infrastructure so that the sector will be at efficient and optimal levels to serve the needs of Ghanaians.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nsia, for speaking to us. And I heard there Benjamin Nsia. He's Executive Director at the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Some 22 minutes past the hour of 12. You're still here on the Midday News on Sri FM 92.7. The Accra High Court has adjourned the case against the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Authority, DVLA, to Monday, the 19th of January, for lawyers of Vehicle Enforcement Association to serve the defendant with a writ. 26 vehicle enforcement companies in December filed an injunction application against the rollout of the new licensing plates by the DVLA. Kweku Inti Alo speaks for the group, and he gave a lot of detail regarding the case.
You see, so as employers, we have taken 3,000 plus people off government payroll. Haven't we done well? We are the biggest contributor to the DVLA's IDG. You see, so they cannot just say 3,000 people should go home. No, we can't accept that.
Why are they sending 3,000 people home?
Why they claim that they want to roll out new number plates, which will be chip embedded for security reasons. But the point is that we embossers, we don't do the chip embossment. What we do is embossing the plate. So if they want to do a chip embedded plates, it is the DVLA and the manufacturers whose responsibility it is. It is not our responsibility. We have tried all avenues. In fact, the CEO has bluntly refused to meet us as a body, VEMAC. He has bluntly refused to meet us. And we have tried everything, trying to just meet him and then explain our side of the story. But he doesn't want to meet us.
And you heard there, Kweku Intialo, he speaks for the association that has taken the DVLA to court over the new number plates and embossment. Let's speak to Lord Edwasari. He is our court affairs correspondent. Lord, this directive by the court to submit the writ to DVLA, what does it mean to this case?
Right, Beatrice, and so essentially, today, lawyers for the plaintiffs in the matter, talking about the 26 embossment companies who took DVLA to court, filing the injunction case. They were seeking the court to determine that injunction application. But lawyer for the DVLA, represented by Kibiru Edmond Kabiru, indicated that back in December, they got to hear about the proposed injunction application filed by the Vehicle Enforcement Association, the members, claiming that a high court had granted the injunction application, which they expected the DVLA to hold on with the new registration scheme. But they said when they came to the court, they checked with the court registry, they found out that there's no such application. Essentially, they indicated the Forest Registrar indicated that she cannot determine or tell if the injunction suit has even been served on DVLA. And so they told the presiding judge this, and then the judge indicated that they can move forward with the application if the parties involved haven't been served. And so the order was given to the lawyers of the Embossment Association to serve the suit on the DVLA, after which they'll determine. So the case is back in court next week, Monday, for the determination of this injunction application in Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Lord Adwasaria, Court Affairs Correspondent. The Ghana Air Traffic Safety Electronics Association has issued a formal notice of its intention to embark on a strike. The group cited unresolved welfare, salary and human resource concerns at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. In a press release dated the 5th of January 2026 and signed by its president, Engineer David Anand Mensah, the association said that the planned industrial action is in line with sections 159 and 160 of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, which require at least 7 days' notice before a lawful strike. The association explained that the decision followed years of failed dialogue, mediation and arbitration, despite what it described as its consistent willingness to negotiate in good faith. A key issue raised in the statement is what the association describes as inconsistent positions taken by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority management regarding the status of its, the Ghana Airport Company Limited regarding the status of its members. The association appealed to the authority and the board to intervene decisively to ensure a fair and lasting resolution, while reiterating its commitment to peaceful engagement. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has inaugurated a 7-member national timber monitoring team as part of renewed efforts to clamp down on illegal logging and forest-related crimes across the country. Speaking at the inauguration, the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofibua described the country's forest as a vital national asset that must be protected from all illegal exploitations.
Mandate of the National Timber Monitoring Team, as has been inaugurated this morning, is clear and unambiguous. Your job is to facilitate a significant reduction in illegal logging, forest reserve encroachment, and related forest crimes through coordinated monitoring, intelligence gathering, rapid response, and collaboration with relevant enforcement agencies. Specifically, this will be your task. You are to monitor timber harvesting, transportation, and trade across the country. 2, you are to detect and deter illegal logging activities, especially within our forest reserve. You are to support enforcement actions in collaboration with the Forestry Commission, security agencies, local authorities, local assemblies, and provide timely, accurate and actionable information to inform policy and operational decisions. This very important official inauguration of the National Timber Monitoring Team, a critical outfit to respond to one of the most persistent threats to our forest resources, illegal logging and encroachment on our forest reserves. As you all know already, forest is a very vital national asset. They underpin our climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, rural livelihoods, and the sustainability of our timber industry. Yet for far too long, illegal chainsaw operators, unauthorized harvesting, and encroachment into forest reserves have undermined these benefits, deprived the state of revenue, and weaken public confidence in the forest governance. It represents government's firm resolve to reset forest law enforcement, strengthen compliance, and protect our forest estate for present and future generations.
And we heard the Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofibua. That's it for the Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to 3news.com for more news.